Commander Elias Vorn had seen many things in his career: deep space anomalies, hostile skirmishes, and strange alien life forms. But nothing unsettled him more than the arrival of the Lyreth diplomat, Kayla. Humans had negotiated with aliens before, but the Lyreth were different. Graceful, intelligent, and almost unnervingly calm. Kayla's species had a reputation for clever strategies and hidden motives. Elias didn't trust her. Not for a second. The research station, Erebus 9, floated in orbit around a massive gas giant, its swirling blue clouds reflecting the dim light of a distant sun. It was a hub for both scientific exploration and interstellar diplomacy. The station itself was a marvel of human engineering, modular, efficient, and designed to withstand the harshest conditions of deep space. But even its sleek corridors and reinforced bulkheads did little to soothe Elias's unease. He strode through the main docking bay, a tall, disciplined figure in the crisp uniform of the United Earth Fleet. Around him, crew members moved with practiced efficiency, preparing the station for the arrival of the Lyreth ship. The alien vessel was unlike anything he had ever seen: organic curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal, glowing faintly with bioluminescent lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. Kayla emerged first from the ship's airlock. She was taller than most humans, with smooth, pale skin that shimmered under the station lights. Her eyes, a deep violet, flickered with subtle, luminescent signals Elias didn't fully understand. She moved with an almost supernatural grace, her motions precise, deliberate, and careful. Elias felt a prickling in the back of his neck. Every instinct told him to be cautious. Diplomacy was always a game of shadows, and the Lyreth played it better than anyone. "Commander Vorn," a voice called. Elias turned to see Captain Arlen, his superior, walking briskly toward him. "This is Kayla. She will be staying aboard the station for negotiations." Kayla inclined her head in a gesture that was formal yet oddly human in appearance. "Commander," she said in flawless galactic standard, her voice calm and even. "It is a pleasure to meet you." Elias returned the greeting with a stiff nod. "Kayla, welcome to Erebus 9. I trust you will find the station satisfactory." Kayla's eyes briefly flickered, a pulse of blue light that Elias caught out of the corner of his eye. He frowned. Something about her eyes felt different, almost like they were assessing him in ways he couldn't read. The first meeting was tense. In the conference room, maps of asteroid belts and mining territories were displayed on holographic panels. Humans and Lyreth both had stakes in the region, and the room buzzed with the quiet intensity of political tension. Kayla spoke with precision. "The asteroid clusters here contain resources vital to both our species. Cooperation is necessary, Commander Vorn. Conflict will benefit no one." Elias listened, arms crossed, skeptical. "I've read your reports. Cooperation is fine in theory, but the Lyreth have a long history of flexibility when it comes to treaties. How do we know you won't exploit any weaknesses we have?" Kayla's eyes glimmered faintly. "Trust is earned, not assumed. You will see that our interests align if you observe carefully." Her calmness irritated Elias. Every instinct screamed caution. Observing carefully is not the same as trusting. The tension was interrupted by an urgent alert from the station's sensors. A mining skirmish had erupted in the nearby asteroid belt. Human and Lyreth mining vessels had clashed over a newly discovered cluster rich in rare metals. Elias stood immediately. "We need to respond. I'll take a team to assess the situation." Kayla's voice followed him smoothly. "I will accompany you. My species' understanding of the asteroid formations may help prevent unnecessary casualties." Elias hesitated. Every part of him wanted to refuse, but practical necessity overruled his personal feelings. Better to watch her closely than leave her behind. The shuttle ride was tense. Elias kept his eyes on Kayla, noting every movement. She didn't speak much, only observing the asteroid clusters through the viewport. Occasionally, she would tilt her head, her bioluminescent eyes pulsing faintly in patterns Elias couldn't decode. When they reached the site, the aftermath of the skirmish was clear. Human and Lireth drones floated, damaged and broken among jagged rocks. A few small explosions still burning. Kayla moved first, carefully scanning the area, her fingers brushing controls Elias barely understood. In moments, she had mapped safe navigation routes through the debris and suggested ways to stabilize the remaining mining vessels. Elias frowned. He didn't like being impressed. Too efficient, too calm, too much control. Your species' methods are unusual, he said, voice tight. Kayla glanced at him, her eyes pulsing softly. We prioritize precision and observation. Efficiency reduces unnecessary risk. Elias ground his teeth but said nothing. Words couldn't express the mixture of admiration and distrust swirling in his mind. That night, back on Erebus 9, Elias paced his quarters. The station was quiet except for the hum of life support systems and the distant echoes of crew movements. He thought about Kayla. He wanted to dismiss her as a clever alien diplomat, but something nagged at him, an unease that ran deeper than political caution. The next day brought a more formal meeting between the human and Lireth crews. Discussions of mining rights, resource sharing, and patrol routes dominated the day. Kayla presented her findings and strategies with impeccable logic. Even human engineers had to admit her suggestions were sound. Yet Elias noticed subtle things. The way she looked at the crew, scanning them, almost like a chessboard. The way her fingers hovered over controls, anticipating problems before they happened, and the faint glow of her eyes whenever she was making a critical calculation. She's not just intelligent, she's different. And that difference makes her dangerous. During a break, Elias confronted her privately in the observation deck. The massive window showed the swirling clouds of the gas giant below, painting the room in soft blues and purples. Kayla, he began, keeping his tone measured. I don't trust you. I need to be clear about that. Kayla turned, her expression calm, almost serene. I expected as much. Distrust is a natural reaction, Commander Vorn. But it does not have to hinder progress. Elias scowled. It already does. Every move we make, I have to watch you. Every suggestion you make, I have to question it. Kayla stepped closer, her presence oddly comforting yet unsettling. And yet, here you are, observing and questioning. That is human nature. Vigilance. It is also necessary. I do not expect blind trust. Only careful cooperation. Elias felt a flicker of something he didn't recognize. Respect or caution? He wasn't sure. The day ended with another alert, a potential mining hazard detected in a neighboring asteroid cluster. Kayla and Elias were both assigned to a rapid response team. As they prepared to depart, Elias caught her eyes glowing faintly, as if anticipating the challenges ahead. For all his distrust, he couldn't deny one thing. Having her expertise could mean the difference between life and death for the crew. As the shuttle launched, leaving Erebus 9 behind, Elias stared at the gas giant's swirling clouds and allowed himself a rare thought. I still don't trust her, but maybe, just maybe, I'll need to. The shuttle's engines hummed steadily as it cut through the void toward the asteroid cluster. Commander Elias Vorn sat rigidly in his seat, eyes fixed on the instruments before him. Beside him, Kayla remained calm, hands folded, eyes flickering faintly in patterns that Elias still couldn't read. Every instinct in his body told him to stay alert. The asteroid field was dense, rocks tumbling slowly in the microgravity. Sensors warned of collisions, and the team's drones were already scanning for unstable formations. Keep your eyes on those readings, Elias said, voice tight. One wrong move and we could lose the entire fleet. Kayla's gaze never wavered from the display. Agreed, she replied softly. But these readings suggest something more concerning than simple drift patterns. Some clusters are resonating in unexpected ways. Electromagnetic interference is building. Elias frowned. Interference? Are you saying it could affect the station? She nodded. Yes. Erebus 9's sensors might be disrupted if the resonance continues. He clenched his fists. That's not a minor problem. We can't risk the station losing core integrity. Kayla's voice was calm but firm. I recommend we proceed carefully and stabilize the nearby asteroids to prevent uncontrolled movement. The shuttle maneuvered closer to the largest fragment, its hull creaking under minor gravitational stress. Elias's hands were steady on the controls, but his mind raced. Trust her? I can't. Not yet. Suddenly, alarms blared. The station's central communications flickered with static. The shuttle's instruments showed erratic readings. Kayla's eyes pulsed rapidly. Bright blue this time. Commander, the core. Erebus 9 is showing a sudden energy spike. If it escalates, it could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction. Elias's stomach dropped. The reactor? Kayla nodded, already moving to the control panel beside him. We need to act immediately. Manual override is required. Elias hesitated. Manual override? Alone? His instincts screamed danger. He didn't trust her. But there was no one else. The station was too far to assist in time. Reluctantly, he followed her. The shuttle raced back toward Erebus 9, weaving through the tumbling rocks. Kayla's calculations guided them with precision, her bioluminescent eyes glowing steadily as she adjusted the course. Elias couldn't help but notice how confident she was, how every movement was deliberate and exact. Upon arrival, the sight of the station's reactor chamber sent a chill down his spine. Smoke curled from vents, and emergency lights cast harsh, red shadows across the walls. The hum of the failing reactor was like a living creature, groaning under stress. Shuttle teams, stay clear, Elias commanded. Kayla, lead the manual override. I'll assist wherever needed. Kayla nodded. We must act quickly. The cooling systems are unstable. One wrong connection, and the chain reaction begins. Inside the chamber, the heat was intense. Sparks flew from damaged conduits, and the smell of ozone filled the air. Kayla's hands moved swiftly over the console, adjusting panels and rerouting energy flows. Elias watched, keeping one hand near the emergency shutoff lever. This is risky, he muttered. Are you sure about this sequence? Her eyes met his. Yes, trust me, Commander. Follow my instructions exactly. Hesitation will cost lives. He swallowed hard. Trust? He still didn't. But the reactor's energy readings spiked, leaving no time for doubt. Elias moved as she instructed, connecting circuits, recalibrating sensors, and stabilizing pressure valves. Her knowledge of human systems was uncanny. She anticipated failures before they happened, correcting them with precision. Minutes passed like hours. Every spark, every groan of metal, sent Elias's heart racing. Kayla's calmness contrasted sharply with the chaos around them. He couldn't understand how she remained so composed. Suddenly, a secondary alarm blared. A containment unit near the plasma conduits was failing. If it ruptured, the chamber could be sealed off permanently, and the station might be lost. Elias, Kayla shouted over the noise, I need you to hold the stabilizers while I reroute the core matrix. He nodded, gripping the heavy console handles. The vibration of the chamber shook the floor beneath them. Sparks flew dangerously close, but Elias ignored the fear building in his chest. He had one priority: survival. Kayla moved with astonishing speed and precision. Wires, circuits, and conduits were rearranged in a coordinated sequence that Elias barely understood. She called out numbers and coordinates, and he followed without question, trusting her instructions even as his gut screamed otherwise. Finally, the alarms began to subside. The reactor's core energy stabilized. Heat indicators dropped, and the hum of failing systems slowed to a steady pulse. Both humans and Lireth drones in the control room breathed easier. Elias exhaled sharply. It's stable? Kayla nodded, her bioluminescent eyes dimming slightly. For now. But the energy surge was dangerous. The station's safety protocols will remain compromised for hours. We must monitor closely. He wiped sweat from his brow. You saved this station. Your calculations were correct. Kayla's expression remained calm. I did what was necessary. That is all. Elias looked at her, feeling a mix of respect, disbelief, and lingering caution. She wasn't just intelligent, she was capable of things he couldn't fully understand. For the first time, he wondered if he had been wrong to distrust her so completely. Before he could dwell on it, the station's internal communications crackled to life. "Commander, the asteroid field is stabilizing, but residual fragments are heading toward the outer docking bays. Some minor damage reported, but no casualties." Elias nodded. "Good. Kayla, we need to assess the structural integrity of the station. Lead the way." Together, they moved through the smoke-filled corridors, checking power nodes, venting excess radiation, and ensuring crew safety. Kayla's knowledge of station design impressed even the seasoned engineers who had worked on Erebus 9 for years. As they passed the observation deck, Elias paused to look out at the swirling gas giant below. Its beauty was mesmerizing, but it did nothing to calm the tension in his chest. "I still don't trust you fully," he admitted quietly. Kayla turned, her eyes soft but unwavering. "Trust is earned, Commander Vorn. That is the nature of human caution. I do not expect you to abandon it." Elias felt a strange sense of relief in her words. She wasn't demanding trust. She was showing capability. And in a crisis like this, ability mattered more than personal feelings. The crew slowly returned to normal duties, repairing minor damages and recalibrating systems. But the near disaster left a lingering tension in the air. Elias noticed the crew glancing at Kayla with newfound respect. Even though she was alien, her actions had saved the station. Elias remained on edge, however. He had seen her eyes glow, seen her move with knowledge and precision that humans couldn't fully understand. Yet he couldn't deny that she had saved lives today, including his own. By the time night fell on Erebus 9, Elias found himself sitting alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. Kayla's words echoed in his mind. "Trust is earned, not assumed." He realized something. Perhaps he had been too rigid, too suspicious. In situations like these, survival depended not just on caution but on cooperation, on the ability to put aside personal doubts and work with those who had the skills to save lives. Elias didn't fully trust Kayla yet, but he knew one thing: he needed her expertise more than ever. And as he looked at the gas giant's swirling storms, he allowed himself a reluctant thought: maybe this alien diplomat, so different from any human he had known, could become the key to protecting both the station and humanity's future. The hum of the station's systems filled the room, steady and reassuring. For now, the immediate crisis was over. But deep down, Elias knew more challenges awaited, and when they came, he would need every ounce of human skill and perhaps the unexpected abilities of the alien beside him. The station's corridors were eerily quiet as Commander Elias Vorn and Kayla made their way back to the reactor chamber. Smoke had cleared, alarms were mostly silenced, but the lingering heat and the faint smell of ozone reminded them both that the danger was far from over. Elias kept a tight grip on the railings along the walls. His mind raced with calculations of every possible failure. Kayla walked beside him, calm as ever, her violet eyes pulsing faintly in the dim emergency lighting. He could see her analyzing every corner, every system they passed, as if the station itself were an extension of her mind. "Elias," Kayla said softly, breaking the silence. "We need to ensure the reactor remains stable. The emergency cooling systems may fail again. I must override them manually to prevent another spike." Elias hesitated, folding his arms. "We already stabilized it once. Why would it fail again?" Kayla's gaze held his. "Because the station's AI cannot fully predict the resonance in the energy core. Only direct manual intervention can guarantee stability." He sighed. "Of course it can't. Nothing human-made is perfect, and maybe nothing alien is either." "Fine," he muttered. "Let's get this done." When they reached the reactor chamber, the heat from the earlier crisis still lingered, the walls glowing faintly red under stress. Kayla immediately moved to the control panel, her fingers dancing over the interface. Elias noticed her unusual confidence, not arrogance, but certainty. "Elias," she said, pausing mid-motion. "Secure it?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" She pressed a hidden sequence on the console, and with a soft hiss, the chamber doors locked automatically. The heavy metal seals engaged, cutting off the reactor room from the rest of the station. Elias instinctively stepped back, his hand brushing against his sidearm. "Kayla," he said, voice tense. "What are you doing? Unlock those doors, now." Kayla turned to him, her glowing eyes steady and unwavering. "Commander Vorn, we do not have the luxury of opening these doors to others. Any interference could trigger a catastrophic failure. I need absolute focus. And no interruptions. You must follow my lead. This is a matter of survival." Elias's mind raced. Part of him screamed rebellion, a rush of distrust flooding every thought. But another part, the rational part, the part that had survived countless battles and crises, knew she was right. Hesitation here could kill everyone on the station. "Fine," he said through gritted teeth. "But if this goes wrong—" "It will not," Kayla interrupted softly. Her voice carried a quiet authority that somehow cut through his fear. She moved closer, standing in the center of the chamber. Elias noticed that the faint bioluminescence along her body pulsed more intensely, a visual rhythm that seemed to sync with her words. Then, she spoke a single word: trust. The word hit Elias like a physical force. He froze. Not because of its sound, but because of its meaning, the weight behind it. It wasn't a demand. It wasn't a warning. It was a command, clear and simple, carrying the weight of survival itself. Elias swallowed hard. Trust. He had spent years training his mind to question everything, to doubt, to anticipate betrayal. And yet, at this moment, the rational part of him, the part that wanted to live, recognized the truth in her word. He exhaled slowly and nodded. "Okay," he said quietly. "I trust you." Ah. Kayla's eyes pulsed faintly once, a tiny acknowledgement, before returning to the interface. She began issuing precise commands, rerouting power flows, stabilizing the coolant channels, and recalibrating the reactor's energy matrix. Every action was deliberate, each motion fluid and efficient. Elias followed her instructions exactly, holding stabilizers, monitoring energy spikes, and adjusting valves. As she directed, the reactor groaned under the strain. Sparks flew from damaged conduits, and heat indicators threatened to spike at any moment. But Kayla's focus never wavered. Elias, despite his initial hesitation, began to feel the rhythm of her work, the logic of her calculations, and the harmony of their combined efforts. Minutes passed, though to Elias, it felt like hours. The pulsing hum of the reactor filled the chamber, each vibration a reminder of the stakes. Kayla's single word, repeated in his mind like a mantra, kept him grounded. Trust. "Elias," she called, her voice calm but urgent. "I need you to reroute the secondary stabilizers simultaneously with the primary matrix. Timing is critical." He nodded and followed her precise instructions. Sweat dripped from his brow, muscles straining under the effort. Sparks flew dangerously close, yet neither flinched. Their teamwork, born of necessity rather than choice, was flawless. Finally, the energy readings began to stabilize. The reactor's hum returned to a steady, safe frequency. The heat indicators dropped, and the emergency lights shifted from red to amber. Elias exhaled a long, shaky breath. "It's stable," he said, disbelief and relief mingling in his voice. Kayla nodded, her eyes dimming slightly as the immediate crisis passed. "For now, the core will require continued monitoring. But the danger is averted. You followed my instructions precisely. That saved this station." Elias felt a strange sense of humility. He had doubted her, questioned her, and yet she had guided them through a situation he had no hope of handling alone. For the first time, he saw Kayla not just as an alien diplomat, but as a partner, someone whose skills complemented human ingenuity perfectly. He stepped back, running a hand through his hair. I don't know how to thank you." Kayla's expression remained calm. "Survival does not require thanks, Commander. It requires focus and cooperation. You learned this lesson well today." Elias allowed himself a small, rare smile. "I suppose I did. Even if it took a locked chamber and one word to teach me." The chamber doors clicked, unlocking automatically once the emergency systems were fully stabilized. Elias hesitated for a moment, then stepped out, feeling a sense of cautious respect for the alien beside him. The station crew had gathered outside, watching the reactor chamber. Murmurs of relief and astonishment filled the corridor. Engineers and officers alike regarded Kayla with newfound admiration. She had done something humans and their AI could not. She had saved Erebus 9 with calm precision and unmatched knowledge. Elias looked at her. "You've earned their respect," he said quietly. Kayla's eyes flickered faintly. "Respect is earned through action, not words, Commander Vorn. Today, we acted for survival. That is all that matters." He nodded, still digesting the events. He had learned something important. In life and death situations, trust could be more powerful than suspicion. And cooperation could achieve what doubt alone could never. Later, in the observation deck, Elias finally allowed himself a moment of reflection. The gas giant below swirled in brilliant blues and purples, its storms mirrored in the glowing lights of the station. Kayla stood beside him, silent, her eyes scanning the distant stars. "You know," Elias began cautiously, "I still don't fully understand your species. But I do understand one thing now. You are someone I can rely on in a crisis." Kayla turned to him, her expression serene. "Reliability is built, Commander. You provided the human element that complemented my skills. That is why we succeeded." Elias nodded slowly. "Then, I suppose, we make a good team." For the first time since her arrival, Elias felt a glimmer of trust. Not blind trust, but cautious, earned trust. And as the stars shimmered outside the observation deck, he knew that if the next crisis came, they would face it together, human and alien, side by side. The hum of the station's systems filled the silence, steady and reassuring. For the first time in days, Elias allowed himself to believe that the combination of human courage and alien intelligence could overcome even the most impossible challenges. And deep inside, he knew that the single word Kayla had spoken, trust, was more powerful than any weapon, strategy, or treaty. It was a key to survival, a bridge between two species, and perhaps the beginning of a partnership that could shape the future of humanity in the stars. The aftermath of the reactor crisis left Erebus 9 quieter than usual. Most of the crew had retreated to rest or repair stations, and the emergency lights were dimmed to a soft, calming glow. Commander Elias Vorn walked slowly through the corridors, thinking about everything that had happened. The events of the past hours had pushed the station to the edge of disaster, and yet it had survived thanks to Kayla. Even now, Elias couldn't fully comprehend her abilities. The Lyreth diplomat had acted with precision, foresight, and calm under pressure, traits that humans admired but rarely saw combined in one individual. She had saved the station, saved lives, and even though Elias had been skeptical at first, he now felt something new: respect. He found her in the observation deck, gazing at the gas giant below. Its swirling blue and purple clouds reflected faintly on the glass, painting the room with gentle, shifting light. Kayla's bioluminescent eyes flickered faintly, not as bright as before, but alive with thought. "You're still watching the storm," Elias said, stepping beside her. Kayla turned her gaze toward him, her expression calm and almost human in its serenity. "It is a reminder," she said softly, "that even in chaos, patterns exist. Order can be found, if one observes carefully." Elias nodded, allowing himself a small smile. "Order, huh? That's a comforting thought after everything we just went through." She studied him for a moment, then spoke quietly. "Commander, your humans are remarkable. You work with instinct and courage, even when the odds seem impossible. That is why we succeeded today." Your role was as important as mine." Elias felt a warmth spread through his chest. It was rare for anyone, human or alien, to acknowledge his contributions so directly. "I appreciate that," he said, almost quietly. "But I think the crew sees you as the hero. You saved the station." Kayla's eyes flickered once, a soft glow. "Heroism is meaningless without cooperation. Humans, aliens, technology all must function together to survive. That is the lesson of today." He exhaled slowly, reflecting on her words. For years, humans had been proud of their courage, their ingenuity, their resilience, and rightly so. But here, working alongside Kayla, Elias realized something deeper. Survival wasn't about one species being superior. It was about combining strengths, recognizing weaknesses, and trusting those who could complement you. The silence between them was comfortable, almost contemplative. Outside the observation deck, the gas giant storms swirled endlessly, reminding them that the universe was vast, unpredictable, and beautiful. A soft chime from the station's communication system broke the moment. Captain Arlen's voice came over the intercom. "Commander Vorn, Kayla, the crews are ready for a debrief. Reports from all departments indicate full stabilization of the station. Your leadership and coordination have been noted by all aboard Erebus 9. Elias glanced at Kayla. She inclined her head slightly. "Shall we go, Commander?" He nodded. Together, they walked down the corridor toward the conference room, where engineers, officers, and scientists were waiting. The room filled with murmurs of relief, admiration, and curiosity. Some human crew members glanced at Kayla with a new sense of awe. Her presence, once intimidating, now felt reassuring. "Commander Vorn," Arlen began. "The board has requested a full account of the events, and the crew would like to formally recognize Kayla for her decisive actions." Elias stood tall, feeling a sense of pride in his team, human and alien alike. "Before we start, I want to make one thing clear," he said, voice strong and commanding. This was not a solo effort. Kayla acted swiftly and correctly, but without the dedication of every crew member, we would not be here today. This is a victory for all of us humans and Lireth working together. The room remained quiet for a moment, impressed by his words. Even Kayla's soft glow seemed to brighten slightly, as if acknowledging the sincerity of his statement. An engineer, a young woman named Rena Sorel, stepped forward. "Commander, we all saw what Kayla did. But honestly, watching her work alongside you, it was amazing. You two made a team I've never seen before." Elias allowed himself a small chuckle. "We made a team because we had no choice. Survival demanded it. But yes, I admit, her methods are remarkable." Kayla inclined her head. "Your cooperation made my work possible, Commander. Without human intuition and adaptability, my calculations alone would not have sufficed." Elias felt a rare sense of satisfaction. He had not just survived a crisis, he had learned from it, grown, and recognized the value of collaboration. And Kayla, in her quiet, deliberate way, had taught him a lesson humans rarely learned easily. Sometimes, the strongest ally is the one you least expect. As the debriefing continued, Elias noticed subtle shifts in the crew's attitude. Fear had been replaced by respect. Distrust had been replaced by admiration. And though some humans still hesitated to fully embrace Kayla, her actions had spoken louder than words. After the meeting, Elias and Kayla returned to the observation deck, now bathed in the soft glow of the station's ambient lights. Silence stretched comfortably between them once more. "You know," Elias said, leaning against the railing, "I used to think aliens were distant, cold, calculating. Today, you've shown me something different." Kayla regarded him thoughtfully. "And what is that, Commander?" "That intelligence and capability don't have to be separate from empathy or cooperation. You saved lives today, not just with knowledge, but with action," and trust. That's something humans understand. Deeply. Kayla's eyes flickered, almost imperceptibly. It seems humans have much to teach as well. Courage, instinct, and adaptability. Qualities that even the most precise calculations cannot replicate. Elias smiled faintly. Looks like we both learned something. I suppose that's the advantage of working together. Each species complements the other. Outside the observation deck, the stars shimmered in quiet constellations. The gas giant below rumbled softly, its storms a reminder of the universe's endless challenges. Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had survived countless threats, not because of individual strength alone, but because humans adapted, cooperated, and trusted one another, and sometimes, those lessons extended beyond their own species. Kayla, he said, breaking the silence, I don't know what will happen next. There will be more crises, more challenges, more decisions that will test us. But I do know one thing. Having you here changes everything. Kayla's eyes glimmered softly. I will continue to act in the station's best interests, Commander. And if you act as you did today with focus, courage, and cooperation, we will endure whatever comes. Elias nodded, a firm resolve settling in his chest. He had faced death, chaos, and uncertainty, and he had learned the power of trust and collaboration. He would carry that lesson forward, not just with Kayla, but with every human crew member, every alliance, and every challenge the stars placed before him. For the first time since her arrival, Elias felt a sense of ease in Kayla's presence. She had proven herself in the most critical way possible, not just with intelligence, but with action, composure, and the courage to act decisively. And in return, he had learned to trust. The two stood side by side, looking at the swirling storms of the gas giant below, each lost in thought. The reactor crisis was over. The station stabilized, and the crew was safe. But more importantly, a partnership had been forged, one that combined the best qualities of humans and Lireth, courage and calculation, intuition and precision. Elias finally allowed himself a small, rare smile. The universe was unpredictable, dangerous, and vast. But humanity, when willing to adapt and work with others, could face anything. And Kayla, the alien he had once distrusted, was no longer an outsider. She was an ally, a partner, and perhaps the key to navigating the challenges of the stars. The observation deck was quiet now, filled with the soft hum of life support and the distant shimmer of starlight. For Elias, it was a moment of reflection and understanding. Humanity's resilience was not in isolation, but in cooperation, in the willingness to trust, adapt, and learn from those who were different. And as the gas giant's storms roiled beneath them, Elias realized something profound. The most unexpected partnerships often led to the greatest victories. The station had survived because humans and aliens had combined their strengths, and if they could do this once, they could face anything the galaxy had to offer. Kayla's presence was no longer a source of distrust or caution. It was a reminder that intelligence, courage, and cooperation, regardless of species, could achieve the impossible. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Elias knew humanity's future was brighter for having learned this lesson. He turned to Kayla one last time. Ready for the next challenge? She inclined her head, her bioluminescent glow soft and steady. Always, Commander Vorn. Always. And together, human and alien, they looked toward the stars, prepared to face whatever came next.